let's really get to the center of this. Miami, South Florida. It's always been Atlantic Records as the sun of the solar system.
Yeah.
And then you could say Henry Stone has always been the Jupiter of the solar system, and everything else is just somewhere in between.
Right.
So Atlantic obviously did eventually take an interest in this in Miami bass. Most notably, well, let's start with the least notably. And I say least respectfully because it's such a big deal for those of us who love the music. They put out Boom, I Got Your Girlfriend by Danny D, DJ Wiz in 1988. And it was clearly just marketed as a club song.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't marketed in any other way. They weren't packaged as a group. They weren't groomed. They weren't presented. It was just, let's back this single and get it out there. Then they signed Latrim from Henry Stone, Hot Productions. And they did package them, for obvious reasons. You have an attractive girl group, put some money behind it, see where it goes. They were taking an interest.
Mm-hmm.
They took an interest in you eventually.
Mm-hmm.
What was your experience?
What I found out was, and again, this is another one of those things, is each time you go up the ladder, you learn another lesson. And in this case, it was, we were actually signed by, we were signed by, when I say we, that's for all the people that work with me.
Right.
Okay, but in effect, it's me that's being signed. We were signed by the dance department. So at the time, I was all, yeah, Atlantic Records, yeah, Atlantic Records. And then the funny thing is, P.B. Floyd explained to me, because even though we didn't do business with each other, we still had contact. He said, you were signed by the dance department. You weren't signed by the black department. Now keep in mind, there really was not a hip-hop department. There wasn't a rap department. So some rap records did end up in the dance department. Most of them ended up in the black department. But where that becomes key is the networks that are in place for whatever department it is. So in the case of us being signed to the dance department, that's the marketing arm. That's the distribution arm. So what ends up happening is, let's say the rep is in, Nebraska somewhere, the local WIA rep for Nebraska. They get a stack of records to go promote. They are the dance rep. Back then, one of the records that was being promoted when Planet Bass came out was Stacy Q.
Two of Hearts.
Yeah. So in their stack of records to go out and promote is that and Welcome to the Planet of Bass. You can understand
You were branded in
why Welcome to the Planet of Bass is going to fail
right.
on Atlantic Records. Because the dance department, and as far as the people higher up the food chain in the dance department knew, they had just signed a black rap act from Miami. That's what the word was. Okay? So they didn't know what to do with it. So basically, they would show up with what would be dance for 87/88 records in their hand to go promote, whether it's to radio, whether it's to distributors, whether it's to whatever, and then here's Welcome to the Planet of Bass. So you know what happens. Somebody probably in there that understands what that is takes it off and goes and sells it at the flea market or gives it to their friend who's a DJ somewhere, and it just falls through the cracks of being promoted by Atlantic Records. If that doesn't make sense to you, just think of, it might as well have been the country western department. Do you think they're going to get that song on the radio in the hands of distributors? And when I say in the hands of distributors, I'm talking about, it was very important back then to have a relationship with the buyers at the one-stops, at the distributors. And so a promotion person, whether they were an independent promotion person or they worked for a major label, they knew that if they had a song that had that signature sound, let's say if it was country western, they knew who to take it to. Whether it was a one-stop, whether it was a distributor, they knew who to take that to say, look, this is the next best thing, this sounds just like so-and-so, or this is produced by so-and-so. I know that you can sell this in your area. I know that you can get this on the radio. So it has to, whatever the song genre was or is, it had to be promoted within that network of what it was.
Right.
Otherwise, gone.
And it put you back into the field of independents and medium-sized places.
Absolutely.
And even smaller people.
Right. We took the project back from Atlantic. Actually gave part of the money back to just totally cut the ties and pull everything back in-house and put it out basically through Pandisk.
Now, you always went home to Pandas during this era. Was there a reason why you didn't consider others?
To be honest with you, it was just easy for me to deal with them. At the time, I had a relatively good relationship with Bo. They weren't too far away. I didn't have to hop on airplanes. I didn't have to make phone calls. Because my focus at the time also was my family. I had young kids. So, I could deal with everything at a level that I was comfortable with and not have to travel too far. I know that sounds kind of parochial, but
Makes sense. It makes sense.
makes sense.